Rev up your engines!
Well, he says, Scotty, you're always pissed about something. No, I'm not. You don't understand. I analyze things. My wife says that too. You know, you're always looking at the bad side. I fix cars for a living. Therefore, I spend my life looking for problems. So what do I do when I see a car? I look for problems in cars. How they're made, tools. Are they good? Are they bad? There's good stuff out there. But the reason you see me being peed off a lot is because our society's gone insane lately with this PC nonsense, and people have lost their minds. And you just give money away forever, print out as much as you want like it's leaves on a tree. No, people need to be responsible for the actions that they do, and people are getting further and further away from being responsible for their own actions, and that's the wrong way. I just read Ford, they want to buy off early retirement to 1,000 of their workers, and they say it's because we're modernizing, and make everything work great, right? No, they're doing it because they have to pay the older workers more. They want them to retire so they can hire younger people and pay them less. And that makes me mad because they used to make great cars, and the quality's been going downhill for all of them for a while because they're cutting corners too much. And it's not a good thing. Eventually it comes home to roost. If everything we have is made out of crap and breaks down after a few months of use, hey, I don't go for that stuff. People that make it, maybe they do, but I don't. I think most people want to get value for their money and not, as Neil Young once sung about all the stuff in our society, it was a piece of crap. Well, there's a lot of crap out there, and I'm warning people not to buy it. If I see it and discover it, I'm going to tell you. Navarez Cruz says, good old Scotty, I got a Toyota Matrix 06 with 300,000 plus kilometers. How many kilometers do you think I have left in the car? We're in the United States. We don't use kilometers. You're probably in Canada, right? Well, so what's that, like 160,000 miles? I've seen him with 400,000 miles, not kilometers, miles. Got a lot of life probably left in that thing. Realize, your Toyota Matrix. Yeah, they call it Toyota Matrix. Originally, they're called Toyota Corolla Matrix. They're just Corollas on a different body style. Same engine, transmission, brakes, all that stuff, right? They can run forever. Take care of it. Change your oil regularly. Change your coolant once every 5-6 years because it's got that Toyota coolant, the pink stuff. It'll last a long time. You made a good decision buying it. Jimmy Anderson says, I got a 99 GMC Z71. My AC fuse keeps blowing. Your fuse blows for your AC. You got a problem in the AC system. Unfortunately, there's all kinds of wirings and switches and everything else on it. Here's the first thing I advise you to do. Go to where the AC compressor is, where the fan belt drives it. There's a plug there. That's the power plug. Unplug it. If you unplug it, you put that fuse back in and turn it on. Now, of course, the AC will not blow cold. You turn it on, the fan blows, drive it around 10-20 minutes, doesn't blow the fuse, you know your compressor's bad. Now, theoretically, that can be a bad AC clutch on the compressor. There's the compressor and then the clutch bolts on the front. But I never advise replacing just the compressor clutch. Replace the entire assembly. Compressor and clutch assembly as a unit. Get a new one. Because the reason the clutches generally go bad is because the compressor's weak. And if the clutch is gone and you put a new clutch on, which is expensive and a big job, right away or sometimes within a few months, that'll break again because the compressor's worn and it makes it strain the clutch and it burns out. So that's how you test it. Now let's say you unplug it and a fuse still blows. Any of the wires that go between the battery, the switch, the computer, and the relay, the AC relay, that sends 12 volts and turns the compressor on. I know it's all normally it's the compressor. Soul Vibes Incorporated said, Scotty, what do you think about a 2000 Dodge Dakota RT 5.9 Magnum? I'm not a Dodge fan by any stretch of the imagination, but that is a 2000. They were better made then. It's 22 years old. So you'd want a mechanic to check it out before you buy it. But if he says okay, it could be a very good truck. I had a guy bring me a 99 1500 Silverado the other day. I don't like the new Silverados, but in 99, and he got real lucky. He found one from a little old lady that was sitting in a barn, and it only had 100,000 miles on it. The seats were immaculate, not cracked or anything. $5,500 for it, but still, it was in excellent shape, and he loves the truck. So back in the day, as long as they're not 400,000 or 500,000 miles, they can be great trucks. They can still last quite some time. The new ones, no. LMAX says, I got a Lexus LS430 2001. I need suspension work. What order should I replace the suspension? All right, well, the obvious thing is anything that's physically worn and has play. You jack it up, you pull the front wheels, go clunka, clunka like that. Means you probably need tie rods. If you pick the top and the bottom, it goes clunka, clunka. You need ball joints. Fix that. Let's say there's no clunka, clunka. Well, that would mean that your struts are worn out. There's 4 struts, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. That has the engine in the front, and it's rear-wheel drive. So I would change the front struts first. Because a lot of times you change the front ones, it rides fine, you leave the back ones on. I've seen Lexuses that had 400,000 miles on it. The rear struts are still original and they replaced the front ones. So you can always add more. Why buy all four? Put the two front in and it works great. Yeah, if not, then change the back ones later. Doesn't cost any more. You're not doing any extra work because the front is the front and the back is the back. GT says, Scotty, how do I know when it's time to replace the clutch on my car? If you can't get it into gear when you're starting up, it grinds, it usually means the clutch is worn unless your clutch pedal is soft. If it's soft, it means that your clutch master cylinder, your clutch slave cylinder is leaking and replace that. And that doesn't cost that much money on most cars. The biggest thing is clutch slippage. So what you want to do is, going 30 miles an hour, let's say, put it in fourth gear and floor it. If you see your RPMs go real fast, but it doesn't accelerate very well, that means the clutch is slipping, the plates are wearing, they're getting thin, and it's time to replace it. Take my advice. If you're going to change a clutch in your car, don't say, well, I'll buy this part, that part. Buy the entire clutch kit. You can get aftermarket clutch kits that are great for $100-something bucks with all the parts. It costs a ton of money, and if you do it yourself, it's an awful lot of work pulling off the transmission. You're going to go through that much work, replace all the parts, then you don't have to think about it for years. Don't, like some guys say, well, the throwout bearing was bad, so I changed it. And then 6 months later, it starts slipping. No, you take it all apart, replace all the parts. Aron says, Scotty, what do you think of the 2021 Toyota Hilux with the 2.4 diesel engine? Should I consider it? Of course, they don't sell those in the United States. Those are excellent trucks, and they're also excellent engines. Now, you're talking about a brand new truck, right? Buy a Toyota brand new truck, it's going to last you an awful lot of time. If you don't mind the price, you want something that's going to last, go ahead and buy that truck. Those things can run and run and run and run. They don't sell them in the United States, but I got friends in Australia with them. They go in the outback, chasing after kangaroos. They drive the heck out of those things. I got a guy, he's got 500,000 miles on this, so they're excellent trucks if you don't mind the price. It's Charles says, Scotty, what do you drive? Well, I drive my wife insane most of the time. If you're talking about vehicles, we got a 2007 Matrix. We got a 2001 Lexus ES300. That's a great car. I got my 94 Toyota Celica. I got a Triumph Thruxton motorcycle and a Suzuki Katana, but it's got a Gixxer 750 engine and it's screaming fast. Those are my vehicles that we drive around. Of course, since there's two of us and there's all those vehicles, a lot of them sit an awful long period of time. My brother-in-law stopped by from Texas and he says, hey, look, why did you buy a new car? You had those cars for years. I said, hey, look, they still look new. What do I care? And they run great. He doesn't fix cars, so he buys new cars when they get 100-something thousand miles on it. And I mean, he's not dumb. They've always had Toyotas. They got a Honda CR-V now, and that's a great vehicle. I mean, he's smart. He buys the right vehicles. He just gets rid of them too soon. He can keep them a lot longer than what he does. James Self says, Scotty, when do you change shocks on a vehicle? Easy question. When they're worn out. Okay, you want to know how they're worn out. If it bounces too much, a simple easy check is parked in your driveway with the emergency brake on. Push on the back of the car. If you weigh like me, 185, 200 pounds, push on it. Or get a couple of guys. And if you push on it, you let go and it bouncy, bouncy, bounce, they're worn out. Do the same in the front. That's a good static test. The best dynamic test is take it on a highway. If it goes straight, perfectly straight, but then you hit a bump and it starts bouncing around, they're worn out. That's one of the best ways. Or if you corner and it starts swaying around, they're worn out. And if you get a flashlight, nice bright one like this, look inside the struts. You see the springs. If you see oil, it means they're starting to go out. They're full of oil. And if the oil's leaking out, they're starting to wear, and better to change them sooner than later. Just don't ask a crooked mechanic to check, because a lot of times they'll have a can of spray oil. They'll spray it. Well, look, it's leaking oil. You need new ones. So check it yourself. You're not going to rip yourself off, right? Tim P says, Scotty, my 2010 RAV4, 206,000 kilometers, has cool AC, not cold. Does it need a top-up? I'm sure it does. I did my son's when we went to Rhode Island. He's got a Corolla, and he said it's not working right. I didn't bring my AC tools with me. I just went to an O'Reilly Auto Parts store a mile away, and I got one of those cans that has a built-in gauge, right? And I put it on, I could see the pressure was low, and they're cool. You just push the button and it adds, you watch the pressure. When the pressure went up to about 35 PSI, it was freezing cold inside, and then he was all happy. Plus, it still had half of that can left. So I said, if it gets low in another 3 or 4 years, now you know how to do it yourself. So yeah, all cars leak refrigerant over time. They have to, because the compressors spin on a belt. So there's a shaft that goes in a compressor. The shaft has to have a seal to seal the compressor, to seal all the gas inside. It's a rubber seal. If that was a perfect seal, it would run dry, spinning on a shaft, it would burn out and it would all leak out. So it's made to leak a little bit, so a little bit of refrigerant and AC oil lubricates it. So over time, they all leak somewhat. Toyotas, they might go 10 years without needing a top-up. Hondas, generally, they'll go 4 or 5 and then they need a top-up. But they all eventually need some kind of top-up. Texas Native says, "Oh, Scotty, getting a 2016 4Runner with the all-time four-wheel drive. What are your thoughts on their system and the 4Runner?" Well, I've never seen one break. So that must say something, you know? I mean, the 4Runners are 4Runners. They're full frame. They're all still made in Japan. They really work well. If you don't mind the slightly lower gas mileage, that's one of the best systems to go, because I personally never seen one ever break. And Toyota knows what they're doing with those things. If that's what you want, it's a good pick. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.